Libby Mortimer, and I was married to Arthur in 1972. I was his second wife.
Jim, I'm one of Arthur's 7 children. Growing up, I suppose, I was constantly reminded of his burning passion for a lot of these social justice issues. He really wanted to fight for things that he thought made a difference to people, especially on the western side of town. He'd wake me up early in the morning to read me a letter that he'd just written to the paper about something that was wrong and needed fixing, and how he was trying to stir up public involvement in fighting the misdeeds of the people in power and the injustices of lack of resources down this side of town.
He always had a cause, and if his cause was libraries or saving Aboriginal people from deaths in custody, he'd be thinking it through, I think, and composing another letter to the paper, and his letters were prolific. He was basically a shy person, but he had a passionate nature too, and he had a lot of causes. He was involved in the Catholic Church, he was a convert, so that informed his passion for social justice. He was great fun. I miss the laughs still.
One of my sisters was at high school and she was trying to do a project, and there were no books that she could access. And we just recently moved into the Port area. Dad looked into it and realised how poorly we were being served down this way. In the whole of Western Adelaide, there was only one public library, and that was at West Torrens. He got quite animated about the injustice. So that began his passion, and that's when he started an organisation called Concerned Residents of the West, which was meant to be based on the fact that the state symbol is a sort of a crow, a piping shrike. Long before the Crows Football Club, this is like 15, 20 years before they came along, he thought this is a state emblem, we're going to use it and talk about concerned residents of the western suburbs of Adelaide, and we're all concerned about the fact that we're not being looked after. Mick Young, who is also on the Workers' Memorial, Dad got him interested in the library cause.
Mick Young then asked a question in Parliament and got Gough Whitlam stirred up about it too, and Gough initiated the Horton Inquiry into Public Libraries, which was Australia-wide. Alan Horton was the name of the guy who was heading it up, and then Arthur made the connection between Dr. Seuss's book Horton Hatches an Egg, and so the Horton Report became the egg, and Horton sat on it for 52 weeks before it hatched, but unfortunately the Horton Report has never been implemented.
No.
We still haven't got federal funding, but
when it was obvious that the federal money wasn't coming, Dad was pressuring the local state government, and there was not a great deal of action happening, and that's when Dad said, right, well, we're going to empty out the state library. So he took a whole group of people on trains from here in Port Adelaide and Semaphore to the city, and we all borrowed out the M's. That was Dad's idea of emptying the library. We borrowed them out and put them in shopping trolleys and parade along North Terrace in front of news cameras, and took them down here and put them in a pretend library that Dad had organised on Semaphore Road. And the people of the area flocked in their thousands to check out a library in Semaphore, which we'd never had.
In the end, Don Dunstan said, here's $2 million for your libraries, but get Arthur Mortimer off my back. So Saul Alinsky wrote a book about revolution. One of the quotes from that Arthur really loved was, if you're going to have a revolution, have it in fun. Don't have it in deadly earnestness. He was too unconventional for a lot of people, and they didn't really get him. Catherine, our first grandchild, David and Angie's daughter, describes Arthur as one of the most interesting, passionate, ethical, challenging and fun people I've ever met. One of her favourite memories, scrawling mind maps in chalk, texter and highlighter on paper and on walls.
I think if it wasn't for Dad, there probably wouldn't be 13 or 14 libraries in Western Adelaide that sprang up, and I think Dad always thought that at least at the Semaphore Library he'd have a plaque for that. I think he'd be so chuffed to think that actually he's on the Workers' Memorial, because it's such an honour to him.
I love seeing his name when I drive around the corner or walk around that corner and can wave to hello Artie.
So I suppose it validates the fact that it takes so many different great forces that have been honoured on that statue to make a community, and you wouldn't think that in a port area that maybe that celebrate the work of a librarian, but I think that just goes to show that we're all part of the ecosystem of helping each other and and bringing people into a better standard of living. And nowadays we think of information as always just being at our fingertips, but for so many years in South Australia it was the haves and the have-nots, and I think that's affected everyone. It's lifted our standard of living and helped us all. Dad used to say information is power, and I think he's given us all a bit more power.